Hello everybody, welcome to another one of my videos, and today I'm going to talk about vague and or low support needs that I do experience, and I'm not sure if those could be filled or if there is something that could be used for that. Anyway, so as I've mentioned in previous videos, particularly the one I was talking about difficulty in being diagnosed due to different factors, I don't really have high support needs. But what I do have is like the aversion for different types of administration and stuff like that. Like I do my taxes and stuff like that, and I sort out all of my stuff, but it's more the bigger things, like from my perspective. Like I've moved twice now to a different home, and every time that I have to get that whole ball rolling, there's just so much to do that I tend to freeze after a while. And I'm afraid of opening my mailbox because there might be a letter in there telling me that I have to do this and that, and I have to go and plow through all my administration again to make copies of everything and stuff like that. So that can be very intense, and it tends to make me freeze as well. I do get through them eventually, but the main things that I would want some type of support for is around dealing with like elderly parents and stuff like that. I have two elderly parents, and the one still lives independently, the other one's in a care home right now. The one that's in the care home has dementia, that's my dad, and there's a lot going on with him as well. There's a lot going on with his girlfriend as well, but I'll make that into a different video because that's a different topic around narcissism and stuff like that. But anyway, so even without her intervening, there's a lot going on because, of course, he's got dementia. That means he's going to go through all these roller coasters of emotions. We have a difficult bond, I would say. Like in the past, my father did not really bond very well with both me and my brother. So we're both kind of like, we're there, but we don't have a lot to talk about because we've never really had a lot to talk about. Maybe that had something to do with the diagnosis as well, and since it's hereditary, maybe he has a diagnosis as well that went undiagnosed. I don't know. Either way, so dementia, for those who don't know that, it brings a lot of personality changes in the person who has it because they start to lose the plot, they lose control, and then they start to do all sorts of things, first of all to try and regain the control, and then as the disease progresses, at least from what I've experienced, they tend to start living in their own little world, and inhibitions tend to disappear. So they'll cry out of nowhere, they'll laugh out of nowhere, they'll be angry out of nowhere, they'll have all sorts of inexplicable needs that they suddenly need met. For instance, my dad was going around the hallway last Saturday and checking all of the support beams of the railing that goes along the edge of the hallway, so people can like grab onto that if they need a little bit of extra support while walking. He was going up to all the little metal supports and checking them, and then I just followed him around because he also tends to walk into other people's rooms and then wants to go sleep in their bed, and of course that makes the other elderly very upset and scared because they're basically their homes, those rooms. It's not just a bedroom, it's like their home and their world, and if some random guy just walks in and wants to sleep on your bed or even gets angry with you for being in your room, that's very unsettling because they themselves of course have their own processes due to their dementia and whatever's wrong with them as well. So I was following him around and he was like fondling all these metal supports of these railings, and then after a while we came back to his door because he went all the way down the hall along the corner and then back, tried checking all the different railings, and then we ended up back at his room. And he was like, well, can't find the car keys, because he was like thinking that he needed to find car keys somewhere that were on a hook, apparently. I don't know, because that's going on in his mind. And we don't know that because when he talks, it's a mumble, and often you only really catch a few words each time. That also makes it very difficult. It's difficult in general to talk to people with dementia anyway because of all that process going on and the reduced awareness and the reduced ability to express what's going on with them. But then I'm also on the spectrum, so I don't know how to handle certain things. I don't know how to handle when he gets mad, when he gets sad, when he starts crying for his mother or the fact that his girlfriend's not there, and then he thinks that he hasn't seen her for 2 years even though she's been there the day before, and there's like evidence to point at. But even if you point that out, he'll still be in his story, so that makes it rather difficult to deal with that. So that's him on his side. Now my mother is living with her, I'm going to call him her husband. They're not officially married, but they have like a contract that they sign. So they're like common law married. I don't know what that's called. But anyway, so her husband, they live together, and she's also losing the plot, but she doesn't want to admit it. Like, we can point out all the different things that she's forgotten, all the things that she asks about several times a day. For instance, she keeps thinking that I take sugar and cream in my coffee when I've never done that. And then when I say I don't have that, she goes, well, one of you guys does that. Who is it? Like, and then my brother likes to play with her because he's got his own issues. So she'll show up to the coffee table with one coffee just black and one coffee with cream and sugar, and she wants to hand me the cream and sugar, and like, no, that's not for me. So then I expect my brother to go, oh yeah, that's for me. But instead he goes, no, that's not for me either. I don't take sugar and cream either. Like, to try and mess with her, which I think is also very bad. But he's most definitely on the spectrum as well. He has his own weird way of doing things. So that also puts me in a position of I'm supposed to be the responsible one somehow, because he doesn't do any of that. Like, if there's something that needs paying for, he'll do that. If he needs something moved, like furniture moved back and forth, he'll do that. But all the administration, all the taking care of things, the planning ahead and stuff like that, that all falls to me. And I'm already quite stressed, just in general, I'm very stressed. But with the neurodivergency thing, of course, it makes it even more difficult because I don't like calling people. I see that whole mountain of things that would need to happen. If she were to, I don't know, need to move into a care home or something, that's already a big issue to have that arranged in and of itself. But she's also incredibly stubborn. She denies forgetting things, and she just jokes around, and particularly when her husband's there, she's scared that he's going to kick her out if she says that she's going to like sign up for some type of a rental home thing in her old hometown, because she has expressed that she would like to move back to her hometown if and when her husband dies, because she doesn't live there. She lives like an hour and a half down the road. So if she were to say that she's signing up for that rental organization to like collect some time, because they have like a waiting list thing going on over here. You have to have been on a waiting list for a certain amount of time. They count like months, but really you need to count years before you actually get a chance of getting a good place to live through them. So if she thinks that if she says to him that she signed up for it, that he's going to go, okay, great, well, that's settled then. I'm going to kick you out. I'm going to move into another apartment, and we'll just break off everything here. See you later. That's her thought process, but he doesn't want that at all. He just wants her to take care of the things for her future. Like, she's still capable enough to make decisions, do something. Like, that's basically the whole idea. And my brother and I also keep telling her, like, you can still arrange for things. Why don't you, like, figure out what you want to do? We can maybe get some balls rolling and stuff like that. And she just completely sticks her head in the sand. She gets angry. She doesn't want to know. She doesn't want to do any tests. And then her excuse, of course, is, well, if I go and take this test with a doctor and it turns out that there's nothing wrong with me, then I've wasted everybody's time and it costs money. And I'm like, well, the doctor wants to test you anyway because he's told your husband that he wants to see you because you never go to see him. And it's not a waste of time because it'll give you peace of mind. And if you go there and you go have your memory tested and everything turns out to be fine, you can just show that to all of us and then we'll stop whining about it, basically. But she doesn't want to do that either. I think she's just afraid of losing the plot because she keeps hanging on to the fact that her mother was 93 when she passed, and her mother, my grandmother, was very sharp mentally. She was able to remember everybody's birthdays, all the names and stuff like that, where everybody lived, what everybody did. Like, she kept track of the entire family, and she was like reading books and everything. She showed no sign of mental decline whatsoever, and she lived to be 93. So my mother thinks that means she's going to live to at least 93 herself. She's currently 73. But if your mind is wandering, you're not going to make it to 93, because if your mind starts to wander, then you stop taking care of your body as well, and then your body starts to deteriorate, and eventually you deteriorate in general, and then that's the end of the line. But she doesn't want to see it, because I think if she admits it to herself, then that to her might mean the start of the decline. I don't know. Either way, so that's going to be a lot of trouble, and for anybody who is not on any type of spectrum, that's already quite a lot of stress, because that means that as soon as her husband passes away, because he has some health issues, that she's going to be there all alone, an hour and a half down the road. I don't have time to go back and forth an hour and a half one way, and basically 3 hours a day on a regular basis to see how she's doing, and she's too stubborn to let me know how she's doing herself. And even when she does decide that she wants to move back, we're gonna have to try and arrange things for her, like a post haste, because she doesn't want to prepare for anything. She's always been this way, like sticking her head in the sand until she can no longer ignore something, and then she goes, okay, I need to get XYZ done, and then she kind of relies on other people to get that done. And she's had a few times already that she just sent me a message over WhatsApp just saying, oh yeah, me and my husband, we've broken up, and now I just need a place. And I'm like, okay, so let's see if we can arrange that. Have you done anything yet? No, I'm just kind of like doing my thing. And then I start to panic because I'm like, oh, we need to take care of things, because I've always had this thing like we need to take care of things. Everything needs to be taken care of. So I start like calling in these different instances, or rather I sent emails because I hate calling, like I said, like trying to get something going, sending messages on her behalf. And at that time it was like, oh, my husband and I are breaking up. I'm 70 something years old and I urgently need a new place. Could you contact me and stuff like that, to try and get her some urgency to get bumped to some list so she could maybe get an apartment somewhere, because at that point it seemed like a super urgent situation. And then the first person from one of those organizations actually calls her about it, and then immediately I got a message saying, take me off of all the sites, I don't want any phone calls, everything's fine, he's no longer angry, we're just going to keep going this way. And I'm like, okay, great. So basically we're going to have this next time, and at some point it's going to be for real. Like, she's not going to be able to undo it because either he's passed away or they've permanently actually broken up. And then we do have to get everything going. But by then I've probably already contacted these organizations a couple times over, though I stopped that in the meantime. And they probably won't believe her story anymore because they've heard this before, and she just has to get into the back of the line. That means she doesn't have a place to stay, really, unless she moves in with somebody else. My apartment is 4 flights of stairs up, and she's not going to be able to do that every day. On top of that, it's small. I can't have her living here because there's just no space. I have 1 bedroom, 1 bath. There just isn't any space. So I'm really like stressing out about the future, and my support need would be somebody who could take care of these types of administration things. And also, once they do pass away, somebody who can help me with all the administration around the funeral home. And that's usually fairly straightforward, but also having to go to all these different organizations that they've signed up for at some point, that they may have subscription for, or that they like have a bank account at, or an insurance, or whatever it is that they got. And then of course splitting whatever may be there as a way of an inheritance. On my mother's side, her husband has 2 children. Those 2 will need a part of whatever's left at the end of that. So somebody has to calculate that. I see everything being dropped on my shoulders because, like I said, my brother doesn't actually do anything in this regard. So it's going to be me who gets stuck with that type of thing. So I've been looking, but I don't really see anybody who could do that. Of course, this would have to be somebody who has then access to your administration. I know as much about her or my mother's administration as I do my father's administration. Neither of them have ever really like made a sheet for us with a bunch of important things, or like put everything together. My dad's information is actually not even with us. He's got this girlfriend that took care of that, but that's another video, like I said earlier. So we don't even really have anything on him that we can do anything with, but I do expect that there's going to be trouble coming from that direction as well. That's going to be worse because we don't have any of his administration, so we don't have his numbers and all that sort of thing. But yeah, his girlfriend, I'm going to make a different video about that, but she's trouble as well of her own right. So... And my mother's administration is bound to be a shoebox somewhere, and we're going to have to plow through that. And in the meantime, the house is going to have to be emptied out, and we need to take care of all these things. So I'm really stressed about that. And hopefully somebody could help with that, but I doubt it because I don't think there's anybody who has that type of service. And I don't think that there are any specific organizations for people on the spectrum that would take care of that without taking care of everything around. Like not just step in when your parents are in trouble, but also probably wants to do your administration, because then I guess they assume that you also can't do that, but that's not really the case. I know, there's a lot going on there. So that's the type of support need that I would identify as having. but I don't think it can be filled, and particularly not without an actual diagnosis. But like I said in the previous video, that's going to be difficult and stuff like that, because I function well enough for people to assume that I would be able to do it. And I think technically I could do it, but it's going to take so much energy from me that that's probably going to leave me with a lot of issues of my own to deal with later. So that's going to be great. Anyway, this is a longer one, I see, so I hope you were able to get all the way till the end. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye bye for now.